From the legendary pony boy to the extraordinary bearded lady, these performers left a mark on the world like no one else has since. As stunning and singular as their acts were, their lives were equally, if not even more, unbelievable. So, join us for today's video as we're going to take a close look at 15 circus freaks who lived a truly strange life. Let's start off with number 15, Robert L. Huddleston. Robert's life began on a Missouri farm in the late 1800s, shaped by a rare condition that caused his legs to bend backward. He couldn't stand or use crutches, but he didn't let that stop him. From childhood, he crawled on all fours, milking cows and doing things like any other farmhand. As a young adult, he became a logging teamster, strapping himself to wagons and hauling lumber 15 miles daily. To protect his hands, he tied small wooden blocks to them, strengthening his grip and preventing injury on rocky paths. Years of labor built great upper body strength. During World War II, he worked as a blacksmith and carpenter, defying stereotypes. After the war, unable to find steady employment, Robert showcased his strength in carnivals. Billed as Pony Boy, he amazed crowds with power and agility, even tossing his leg over his shoulder like a hay bale. For over 35 years, he toured successfully, earning admiration and living on his own terms. Number 14, Joseph Merik. Joseph Merik's life was a mix of cruelty and quiet resilience. Born in Leicester, England in 1862 with severe deformities, he endured relentless abuse, even from his own brutal father, who kicked him out as a teen. Despite unimaginable suffering, Joseph remained gentle and soft-spoken. He eventually found work as a novelty exhibit, the Elephant Man. Though the sideshow spared him from the streets, many treated him as subhuman. Then came a turning point. Dr. Frederick Trevis invited him to the London hospital, where Joseph finally experienced care and dignity. He was given a private room and friendship, things he'd never known. London's elite soon visited him regularly, bringing gifts and conversation. For the first time, Joseph felt seen as a person, not a monster. Though he only lived to 27, those final years brought him peace. His body may have been malformed, but his soul was kind, and it is what matters. Number 13, Charles Sherwood Stratton. Charles was born a healthy child in Bridgeport in 1838, but a malfunctioning pituitary gland halted his growth. By age 4, he stood only 25 inches tall and grew little more. In 1842, his parents introduced him to showman P.T. Barnum, who instantly saw potential. Barnum coached Charles in comedic routines and rebranded him as General Tom Thumb. To boost intrigue, Barnum claimed he was 11 years old and of European descent. Crowds lined up to see the charming miniature performer impersonate Napoleon and other historical figures. Charles toured Europe, performing for Queen Victoria and King Louis Philippe. His fame catapulted Barnum into success. Charles later married Lavinia Warren, another little-person performer, in a high-profile wedding attended by thousands. The newlyweds toured for years, performing in hundreds of cities. Despite his small size, Charles achieved immense fame and left behind a larger-than-life legacy, many artifacts of which still reside at Barnum's museum today. Number 12, Myrtle Corbin. From the moment Myrtle was born in 1868 in Lincoln County, it was obvious she was unlike anyone else. Myrtle had 4 legs, an extra pair belonging to a parasitic twin attached to her torso. The smaller legs moved slightly but couldn't support weight. By 13, she began performing in sideshows, where crowds were stunned by the dangling limbs beneath her dresses. She often wore socks on the extra feet to enhance the visual impact. Myrtle's warm personality and natural stage presence earned her up to $450 weekly, a fortune at the time. Still, she craved a normal life. She married Dr. James, who urged her to leave show business. Myrtle was happy to become a mother and wife. They settled in Texas and had 8 children, but tragically, half died young. When financial hardship hit in 1909, Myrtle returned to performing into her 40s. Around 1915, she retired, and then in 1928, a severe skin infection ended her beautiful life at 59. Number 11, George Constantinis. George, aka the Tattooed Greek Prince, was born in Albania in 1833 and spoke multiple languages. A born adventurer, he joined a French-led gold expedition to Burma. The mission failed when they were captured by local authorities. Most of his companions were executed, but George and 2 others faced a different punishment: a brutal 3-month tattooing ritual. Burmese artists etched nearly 400 intricate designs into his skin. According to George, it took 4 men to hold him down. Upon his return to Europe, tattoo experts translated the Burmese inscriptions and studied the rare techniques used. George exhibited himself across Europe wearing only undergarments to show his decorated body. In 1875, he came to America, where P.T. Barnum paid him $100 a day to perform. Marketed as the Illustrated Man, he stunned audiences. He later retired in Greece, where he slowly lost his vision. By 1894, he vanished. Number 10, Ella Harper. Ella Harper was born with a condition that made her knees bend backward, forcing her to walk on all 4s. Kids mocked her as she shuffled along Tennessee roads, but Ella preferred the ground anyway, her palms pressed into the warm dirt. At 12, the circus rolled into town. The ringmaster saw opportunity. She moved like a camel, and crowds were desperate to see her. Ella loved the roar of the audience. She cartwheeled and flipped across the stage night after night. Her popularity soared. Headlining at the Nickel Plate Circus, she earned over $200 a week. Her photos splashed across newspapers from coast to coast. But after 4 years in the spotlight, she walked away. 16, Ella returned home with pockets full of cash. In 1905, she married a kind teacher, Robert. Their brief marriage ended with his sudden death. Motherhood brought happiness, but tragedy struck again. Both babies died in infancy. Later, she was diagnosed with colon cancer and passed in 1921. Ella's spirit, though, never broke. Number 9, Josephine Cleopulia. Josephine began growing facial hair at age 8. By 16, her beard stretched over 6 inches long. Her parents, uncertain how to manage her appearance, sent her to boarding school in Geneva, where she learned poise and refinement. Choosing to embrace her uniqueness, she began touring Europe with her father as her manager. In 1851, she gave birth to a daughter, and in 1852, a son named Albert, who also had body hair. Hoping to find fortune, the family sailed to the United States and joined P.T. Barnum's American Museum. Barnum marketed her as the Bearded Lady of Geneva, while branding Albert as Infant Esau. Audiences were fascinated. Rumors later spread that Josephine wasn't a woman, leading to a public trial where doctors confirmed her gender. Though she once dazzled high society and was even gifted a diamond by Napoleon III, Josephine died broke in an English workhouse in 1875, still remembered for her grace. Number 8, Johnny Eck. Johnny was born in Baltimore in 1911, a fraternal twin to his fully limbed brother Robert. Johnny was born without legs but adapted quickly, walking on his hands before Robert could crawl. He stood less than 2 feet tall, but never let that stop him. By age 12, Johnny and Robert were performing together in sideshows across America. Crowds were floored by Johnny's agility, hand-balancing acts, and sleight-of-hand tricks. Though he looked different, he always kept a sunny, humorous spirit. In 1932, he appeared in the cult film Freaks, credited as the Half-Boy. He later played a bird-like creature in several Tarzan movies. Offstage, Johnny explored hobbies like model car racing, painting, and climbing the Washington Monument on his hands. Later in life, he and Robert returned to Baltimore, continuing to greet fans from their porch. Johnny lived to 79. Number 7. Grady Styles Jr. Grady Styles Jr. was born with ectrodactyly, which fused his fingers and toes into claw-like appendages. By age 7, he was part of his father's sideshow act, dubbed Lobster Boy. While audiences gawked, his deformity was monetized. As an adult, Grady married a carnival worker. They had 2 children, both born with similar conditions, and folded them into the family act. Together, they toured as the Lobster family, drawing huge crowds. But behind the scenes, Grady was violent, controlling, and drunk more often than not. He beat his wives and kids mercilessly. When his daughter got engaged to someone he hated, Grady shot and killed the groom. The trial was a media circus, yet Grady dodged prison. Judges claimed no facility could house him. Emboldened, he told his family, "I killed once and got away with it. I can do it again." His abuse escalated until his first wife, Maria, had enough. She hired a hitman. In 1992, as Grady sat watching TV, 3 bullets ended his reign. All right, guys, now let's head over to number 6. Petrus Gonsalves. Petrus was born in the 16th century with hypertrichosis, a condition causing dense hair growth across his face and body. Initially mistaken for a wild beast, he was imprisoned in King Henry II's court. Royal physicians soon realized he was a boy, not a creature, and he was educated alongside French nobility. Petrus learned Latin and military theory, becoming well-versed in court etiquette. As an adult, he married a woman named Catherine, who wondered if their children would inherit his condition. Of their 7 children, 4 were born similarly hairy. The family became known as the Hairy Family and traveled between European courts as noble curiosities. Though treated with respect, they were still viewed more as spectacles than equals. Paintings of Petrus and his children circulated widely, fueling fascination. Some historians believe Petrus inspired the tale Beauty and the Beast, though the folklore predates him. Number 5. Chang and Ang Bunker lived a life more surreal than fiction. Born conjoined in 1811, they were fused at the chest by a short band of cartilage. As children, they learned to move in unison, swimming, walking, and rowing together effortlessly. Discovered by a British merchant in 1824, they were brought to America in 1829 and exhibited as exotic marvels. Touring the world, they performed acrobatics and allowed medical examinations. Their fame gave rise to the term Siamese twins. Though first treated like oddities, they later took control of their appearances and earnings. By 1839, they retired from touring, became U.S. citizens, and settled in North Carolina. They married local sisters and had 21 children. Alternating between households every 3 days, they maintained 2 family lives. The community viewed them as eccentric but respected members. Even the Civil War didn't divide them. In 1874, Chang died from a blood clot. Ang followed just hours later, their lives too intertwined for one to endure without the other. Number 4. Millie Christine McCoy. Millie and Christine McCoy were conjoined twins born into slavery in 1851 on a plantation in Whiteville, North Carolina. At just 10 months old, they were displayed at fairs and sideshows. Labeled freaks of nature, they were bought and sold multiple times before showman Joseph Pearson Smith acquired them as toddlers. He brought the twins and their mother, Monamaya, to Britain, where nightly performances captivated audiences. Joined at the lower spine, Millie and Christine moved with uncanny coordination, often walking on 4 legs or 2. They called themselves I and learned to sing in harmony. Christine as soprano, Millie as alto. Mastering 5 languages, they traveled worldwide, performing as the Two-Headed Nightingale. As adults, they took charge of their careers, developing choreographed dances and piano duets. They eventually bought their childhood farm, but a 1909 fire destroyed their home. Both died from tuberculosis in 1912. Millie first, then Christine. One body, two souls, one unforgettable life. Number 3, Isaac W. Sprag. Isaac W. Sprag developed a mysterious condition in childhood that caused extreme weight loss, leaving him skeletal. Though he attempted regular jobs, first as a cobbler, then a grocer, his fragile frame couldn't keep up. A promoter spotted him at a carnival, and soon Isaac was touring as the living skeleton. His dangerously thin figure drew shocked gasps as he stood on stage. When P.T. Barnum recruited him for his American museum, Isaac became a national sensation. To stay upright, he constantly sipped milk to maintain energy. Despite his popularity, Isaac never enjoyed circus life. He married his sweetheart, Tamar Moore, and had 3 sons. But financial stress repeatedly pulled him back into the sideshow world. Doctors never uncovered the cause of his condition, which continued to deteriorate his muscles. At just 45, he died weighing only 43 pounds at 5 feet 6 inches. Though his life was marked by hardship, this guy was the superstar of his time. Number 2. Prince Randian had no arms or legs, yet lived with remarkable independence. He performed dressed in a red and white knitted outfit that made him look almost caterpillar-like as he wriggled across the stage. Audiences leaned in as he lit cigarettes using only his mouth, holding a match in his teeth, striking it, and lighting the cigarette with eerie precision. But his act went beyond that. He painted by gripping a brush with his lips, wrote using a pen in his mouth, and even shaved using a razor attached to a wooden block, moving his face against it. All his tools were stored neatly in a custom-made box he claimed to have crafted himself. Discovered by P.T. Barnum in 1889, he performed for decades in Coney Island and on tour. In 1932, he appeared briefly in Freaks, showcasing his smoking technique. Just hours after his final performance in 1934, he died from a heart attack at 63. Number 1. Stefan Babrowski. Stefan Babrowski, known as Lionel the Lion-Faced Boy, was covered in golden blonde hair from birth due to a condition called hypertrichosis. The hair was thickest on his face, giving him a lion-like appearance. His mother believed the condition was caused by witnessing a lion maul his father while she was pregnant. Ashamed, she handed 4-year-old Stefan to a circus, where he began performing as Lionel. His flowing beard and mane amazed audiences, making him look like a man cloaked in fur. But Lionel didn't rely on appearance alone. He performed acrobatics and flips, winning over crowds with charm and boldness. Off stage, he was soft-spoken and gentle. In 1901, Barnum and Bailey brought him to the U.S., where he toured for nearly 2 decades. His appearance brought fame, but Lionel longed for a normal life. He even hoped to become a dentist. Still, the spotlight always pulled him back. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.